I was diagnosed with autism and ADHD, and then it was ripped away from me and led to self-harm, drug abuse, assaulted by 15 boys with golf clubs. Just a terrible life. My name's James Alexander Gaffney, and this is my story. So, as a youngster, I've always felt as if I was trapped inside my body. I would always hide. I had a cabin bed as a kid. Come from a poor family. They had what they had, but I was always hiding. I was always making dens. I didn't fit in the world or try to conform me and even as a youngster, in classrooms was the first place that I really noticed that when people would answer the question, I would know the answer, but I didn't want to make myself look like I was different, so I didn't answer it. And I still, I don't regret anything, but it's one of those things, it still happens. I will always be at the back, but put in the front. But the persona would tell you that I'm okay on the outside, but it's the inside that's really important to me. So, autistic and ADHD, I can never tell the switch and what goes where and what goes what, but self-harming as a kid was massive, from cutting my wrists, always wearing a bandage. Growing up, even like sexuality and stuff was just a thing, They like women, they like men. It's like, I'm brutally honest with that. That was a massive thing during puberty, and self-harming just seemed to take you away from the world. I hid it for a long time, and I was maybe 8 when I first self-harmed. On my way to school, I would do it, and then, bandages. But, going through life in autopilot, it felt I'm always 500 miles an hour and being conformed into some box that I didn't fit in. It's kind of exhausting, and if I'm being brutally honest, I still have that. My mother denied me my autism and ADHD from a psychologist. I had a lot of child psychologists growing up, and they would be mainframe. I come from a woman household, like before my stepdad, my mother brought me up. So I'm quite a sensitive soul, and I always put it down to being brought up in a female household. But later in life, I understand that I am sensitive because I am autistic, I am ADHD, and I've learned to accept it. But the journey that it took me on, scary just to think how far it has led me, but it led me here. So school was never for me. Education was, like I said, I would always not answer the question and struggling. My mother even worked at the school I went to, so she wrapped me in cotton wool. And that isn't the right thing for somebody like me. But I try not to let that affect me now as an adult. But drug abuse and alcohol from a young age was a master. It was my master, and I was its slave because I felt that that's the way I could escape the world. So from class A amphetamines to alcohol, ages 12, smoking, all these things that I would later find out these are triggers. And I was bulimic. I made myself sick, and it's horrible. It was a horrible time to be. So there's another thing that I never really addressed. So I'm called Jim, where I come from. Nicknames, gaffers. And I'm true to myself. I was born James Alexander. That's my first name. And later in my life, that's who I am. So when people call me that, I'm like, it means you didn't know me. When I hear somebody say Jim, I'm thinking, you don't know me. But I'm not harsh about it. And the serial masking led to, I went to 4 different schools, 5 possibly. Education system was me lashing out or trying to be somebody that I wasn't, and it literally catapulted me into somewhere where I didn't want to be. I don't fit into my family, and I'm 43 this year. I still don't fit in there. I have siblings. I've told them I don't understand where I fit in the family household. I have a son. These things, none of these things fulfilled the emptiness that is still within me. And a story that I don't often talk about now, but I feel like it's something that I need to tell people, because getting bullied is part of, it's acceptable. It isn't acceptable in any world. And have a think, when, being a wee neurodivergent James in classrooms, like for instance, if I give somebody a pen and they don't hand it back within a certain amount of time, I get anxious. And I start thinking, when's the pen coming back? So if that came across as anger, or it's just waiting on the pen, I don't know how this entire life gets to transfer into now, but I end up getting taken away from my family home. I'm going to be honest, and I'll be brutally honest, that made me happy. It made me happy because it was something different. Not that I'm saying that my parents, my family didn't give me the love. I don't understand love. I see love as something that's like materialistic. Flowers, cars, shopping, the clothes you wear. That isn't who I am. It makes me angry inside that when we're constantly trying to constrict yourself into a form of a job. I've had great jobs. I wasn't happy because I had to use my mouth and talk and pretend to be something that I'm not, to fit into these jobs, because society would deem me that you're making money. I'm a lonely guy. I'm still lonely, but I've accepted it and realised that part of the problem going through being autistic and ADHD is people pleasing from a young age, which leads to self-harm, which led to being I'm also dyslexic, like numbers and words. Slow it down. Sometimes the world's too fast for me, is what I'm trying to say. In a particular instance, when I was 14, I'm impressionable. I like people, so I had loads of friends. I never fitted in with any of the friends I had, but it was part of the facade of, here I am with yous, but I did not belong. So a particular night that you're playing up with everybody, you're trying to be the man, 15 boys chased me and assaulted me with golf clubs. And about 10 days later, I woke up on a life support machine, and I was really ill with catastrophic damages to me. I'll be here on a documentary and say that, I forgive them, but during that time, it's robbed me of something, right up until I got sober, 37. Do I have to wear a label of a big badge that says I am James, I am autistic, and I am all of the above, in order for you not to do those stuff? Because that still happens. That changed my life forever. It changed my addiction became so much more. My masking became so much more. Girlfriends didn't fulfill that empty hole of who am I and what am I meant to do in this world? And I guess I'll never get the answer to that. I am out in the wild. I was brought up as someone who was told it was normal. So I was brought up in a normal environment. What is normal for me? It isn't the normality in the world that the boxes that people are trying to put you in. I get emotional telling these things because emotion and regulation and things, like, I never cried for years unless I had an alcoholic drink or a drug. And like I said, that was my master. But here I am today, 42-year-old, sitting on a beach, and I've been sober and clean for 5 years, and nobody tells you that when you get sober and when you get clean that you're left with the emotions. Obviously it makes me uncomfortable because I am autistic, I am ADHD, I am dyslexic, but quite early into my sobriety I questioned, what else have I been lying to myself about, and what else have I been lied to about? Now my late mother's no longer here, so I can't ask her, and she wouldn't have the answers anyway. I am an autistic, ADHD person who has denied himself the basic human version of himself, that this is me. Even sitting here on a beach is like, I'm lonely. I don't mind telling people that, but other people are also the problem. People pleasing. I used to get drunk and pretend I needed to be with a partner, much so that I was sexually assaulted and I was raped by a woman. These things happen when you don't, me taking accountability, when you don't take accountability of your neurodivergency, your autism, but your most authentic self. Forgiveness, yes, I can forgive people, but I can't forget. I can't forget scars that being self-harming may be here on my wrist, but the other stuff inside is, this is genuinely the first time that I've ever mentioned any of that to anybody, and I'm not ashamed of it. I am not ashamed of who I've become, and I've forgiven people for many, many things, and I'll continue to do that, but here's the truth. I've forgiven myself. I've forgiven myself for all the horrible, negative and unloving things that I denied myself. So when I'm sitting here and I'm reliving those things, yes, it's traumatic, but I don't wear it as some sort of shroud of negativity or all the other things, because I can't change it. What I can change is to tell people that I'm a 42. I keep saying the age because I've been living in the world for 5 years only, and I've been navigating autism and ADHD because I was ashamed and I was terrified of what people would think. I had no problems telling you I was ADHD, but the autism part, because men are brought up to be, well, you need to be strong, you need to be this. I'm going to tell you right now, no, I don't. I do not need to be any of the above for anybody. And that's why I'm single. That's why I'm a solitude, and that because I'm taking the time to learn how James Alexander Gaffney decides how the world is, because I am the most important person in my life. And that may sound selfish to some people, but when you've been denied your entire existence for a long time, I'm here to tell you that it's not selfish. I don't self-harm anymore. I can't make promises that it won't happen in the future, but what I can say is that the stuff that I have learned through the negativity has taught me that there are people out there that help, even though you want to feel closed off and you want to lock that door and hide. There's nothing wrong with that. I still lock the door and I still hide. I've found who I want to be, and it is not easy, but it does get better. And when I found that, I found that I could paint. So I opened up a company, and I just want to tell you a wee bit that helped me. I found that I denied myself that I wanted to paint. I used to tell people I could, but I couldn't. So what I do is when I'm in cafes, I loosely use this word struggle, but when I'm in cafes and people demand your attention, it's loud, there's people there. So I'll sit and paint wee doodles. I'll ask permission if somebody's with me, and then I find that calms me and centres me. So I will give them away to people, so like wee small parts of me. And I'm being honest, I've built the foundations up of an entire company on that basis. I'm a kind person, but people take advantage of the autism and ADHD. I'm not the hard man that everybody seems to think that I was, or I never was. Whereas this is who I am, and I'm authentically able to write, paint, set up a company. I've probably got less than 5 people who I have these kind of conversations with, because I don't trust the world. But I created a world that's the same. I created a world of my own that I invite people in, and that's important. So, and that's done through art. But the art is a way of me being able to vocally write through writing, if that makes sense. So you can find us at jagar82.com. Come along and see what it is we do. We are a company of kindness. But it's nice to have something that I can share with the world, and that's my story that people can hear. So I saw a quote, it was when I was on the train, squished in the corner, that said, "Just be kind."